We're here back in the Fantasy Bar. Week 7 is here. We got 6 guys for you on FanDuel and DraftKings this week, including a couple value receivers I really like this week. Couple running backs I think are going to go overlooked in good spots. A quarterback wide receiver pairing I'm eyeing up this week. And of course, my favorite play of the week. Who we talking about? Belly up to the Fantasy Bar and find out. Welcome in, everybody. Week 7 edition Beers Daily Fantasy 6-pack. Good to be back once again in the Fantasy Bar. 6 guys fresh off the tap for you on FanDuel and DraftKings. Thank you, as always, for stopping by, hanging out here in the Fantasy Bar and checking out the video. Before we get into the plays, you guys know the drill. Let's take a second, click that thumbs up button. Been doing a great job with that, so thank you. It helps me, helps us out tremendously. That's the tip jar here on this free video, so please take a second and do that. Also, subscribe to the channel. Don't want you to miss anything. We got this video. We got our Pints and Picks betting video. Hit 5 of our last 6 bets over there. And of course, NBA is fired up. We'll be doing NBA 6-packs a couple times a week if you're into that. So subscribe to the channel. Make sure you don't miss anything. And lastly, head over to scoresandodds.com/beer. Tons of great stuff over there. If you haven't checked it out yet, that link in the description of the video. Coolest new feature, Parlay IQ, going to show you the best way to put together some plus EV parlays, single game parlays. Ton of fun messing with that thing, but you can look at props, you can look at line spreads, histories between the teams, all kinds of cool stuff. Scoresandodds.com/beer. All right, let's get into it here. We know bye weeks are underway. We got teams coming off a bye. This should be an interesting week. I think there's some good value out there this week. Now let's start at the running back position with Joe Mixon of the Bengals. I love this spot here for Mixon. I think the public, first of all, they're going to hesitate. They're going to look at the 8 carries from last week. They're going to be excited about the passing game. And I certainly understand the excitement on those guys. I'll be using them as well, but let's not overlook Mixon here. Now, small sample, but 2 games at home this season. This guy's averaging 31 touches per game. They're a big home favorite, checks a big box for us there where we really want to look for our running backs if we can. And this matchup is favorable for Mixon. Atlanta, bottom half of the league in fantasy points allowed. You look at rushing, DVOA, they're towards the bottom of the league in that number at 25th. So there's some popular running backs here on this week's slate. How do we get different? I think Joe Mixon feels a little bit underpriced, especially in FanDuel at just $7,400. All right, I promised you some value at wide receiver. Let's start with Hunter Renfrow of Vegas. Now, Josh Jacobs, one of those guys we discussed at running back that should be very popular this week. In fact, he may be the highest owned player of anybody this week here against this bad Houston run D. But let's go to the passing game here. Houston not that much better against the pass. I know it's awful against the run, but if everybody's going to be on Josh Jacobs in a cash game, sure, that's the route you go. But tournaments, we want to get a little bit different. I think we can do that with Hunter Renfrow. Now, has not been great. We have not seen the big numbers that we saw last season. That should help us out with ownership. Nobody feels great clicking this guy's name right now. But let's keep in mind, Darren Waller likely not going to play in this game. Devontae Adams, a fine option here as well that I think will go overlooked here. $4,900 on DraftKings for a guy that can rack up 8, 9, 10 receptions. Sign me up for that, Vegas. 26-point projected team total here. Big favorites at home in Houston. Has struggled here against the pass, especially over the last couple weeks, allowing over 300 yards per game through the air. So, yes, it's been ugly, but that'll keep the ownership low here on Hunter Renfrow against Houston. All right, let's go to the quarterback position next. A guy making his return. I'm going to get him right back in my lineups. That's Dak Prescott of the Cowboys. Now, this one, interesting. I think people are going to wait. They're going to look and see, how does it go? What is his thumb like? Is he fully healthy? Is he going to get all the snaps? I think he's a full go here. He's been practicing. I am not going to wait for this. The matchup doesn't get much better than when the Detroit Lions come to town. So let other people hesitate. Let's jump in here on Dak. Now, team total, they're up there, second highest on the main slate, projected to score 4 touchdowns in this game. Lots of ways that you can stack here with Dak Prescott as well. You can go high end with CeeDee Lamb. You can save some money with some of the other guys. Hell, I don't even hate the stack with the running backs here against this Lions defense. Detroit 32nd overall defensively DVOA. Also, dead last against the pass in DVOA. A historically bad defense here. And to no surprise, they've allowed the most fantasy points to the quarterback position. Dak Prescott back in that Dallas lineup. Going to be a big part of my builds here in week 7. All right, let's go back to wide receiver here. We mentioned stacking with Dak. Let's go back to Dallas with CeeDee Lamb. Too easy here. Let's look at another option. We'll roll with Michael Gallup. I don't hate CeeDee Lamb here, but another guy that's going to be very popular on this slate here this week. So again, cash games doesn't really matter with the ownership. Find the most optimal plays you can fit in. Tournaments, let's get a little bit different with our Dallas stacks here. And I think Michael Gallup gives us that opportunity here. Now, the activity since coming off the injury list, it kind of ramped him up, and we've seen it go up each and every week, especially the routes to snaps, highest that we have seen all season last week in that matchup with Philadelphia. Now, Detroit, we talked about how bad this defense is. 8th most DraftKings points allowed to the wide receiver position. So a great matchup here for Dallas, as we know. Ton of ways you can go. Lamb, the easy cash game play. Michael Gallup, I love as a pivot in GPPs. All right, let's get to the tight end position next. We are rolling with George Kittle of the Niners. Now, some people are going to call this chasing points, trying to buy high here on George Kittle. I think we see a very similar game to what we saw last week. San Francisco defensively is outstanding, not when they're missing so many pieces banged up here. I think the Chiefs are really going to be able to put points on the board, and that's going to force the hand of San Francisco. We know they want to run the ball, but when you're playing from behind, you're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more. So I think George Kittle is going to be a big part of the game plan. We saw a season high 10 targets for him. Also, season high 8 receptions, 83 yards in that game against the Atlanta Falcons. Chiefs have struggled somewhat against the tight end position, especially with touchdowns. 4 touchdowns already allowed, ranks inside the bottom 10. Fantasy points, 11th most allowed. George Kittle, still a value, still pretty cheap out there in a potential come from behind game, potential shootout, even if it's competitive. George Kittle, good option for your DFS lineups. All right, it's time to take a look at my favorite play for week 7. Before we do that, let's continue our Beast of the Week contest. Congrats to last week's winner. All you got to do, get in the comment section right below the video. Make sure you've hit that thumbs up button if you have not already, and guess fantasy points on DraftKings for my favorite play of the week. The closest guess in fantasy points going to win themselves a free week of RotoGrinders Premium, a chance to check out everything behind the scenes. And while you're in the comment section, who's your beast of the night? If you were 10 in the bar, who is your top play here on the slate? Sound off in that comment section. All right, let's wrap this baby up. My favorite play for week 7, you know I'm as the Beast of the Week. All right, Beast time. We owe you one more running back. We're going to continue to get away from some of that chalk. We're rolling with Leonard Fournette of Tampa Bay, this week's Beast of the Week. Now, Fournette will certainly get some ownership, but it will not be at the rate of Josh Jacobs, Ken Walker, both in good matchups, both a little bit cheaper here. So this will give us a different build. If most of the lineups are going to start with those two guys, we start with a MIXON Fournette lineup. We're instantly going to be different from most lineups in GPPs. Now, let's take a look at what Fournette's been doing here, and it's been solid over the last couple weeks, averaging over 25 touches per game, almost 30 DraftKings points per game over the past 2 weeks here. And this is a great matchup. Carolina, 23rd overall defensive DVOA against the run, 19th and bottom 10 fantasy points allowed here to the running back position. Fournette, solid option here. My favorite play on the board in this week's Beast of the Week. All right, guys, that wraps up for week 7 here in the Fantasy Bar. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, please hit me up in that comment section right below the video. You can also reach out and follow me on Twitter at Beermakersfan. And don't forget, Leonard Fournette, fantasy points on DraftKings for your chance at some free RotoGrinders Premium, along with your Beast of the Night. I want to see who your favorite play is in week 7. For RotoGrinders.com, I am Beer saying salut, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Best of luck here in week 7. Keep an eye out. Pints and Picks with 2 of my favorite sports bets coming out as well. And want to hear me talk about the whole slate? Betting wise, check out the DFS OGs podcast, Head Chopper Notorious, and myself going through every game, giving you our best bets, along with some survivor picks. That releases every single Wednesday. Good luck, guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you.
Hey, thanks for checking out our videos. If you want more expert advice on DraftKings, FanDuel, or any other daily fantasy sports, make sure you check out the current videos playlist